The Locked On Podcast Network presents the NBA Big 3 in 30. The three biggest stories in the NBA from our local experts at the Locked On Podcast Network. We bring you the real story, why it matters, what's next, who wins the big game, and more, all in 30 minutes. The NBA Big 3 in 30 starts now with the biggest story in the NBA.
Tom Dundon, the owner of the Carolina Hurricanes and a pickleball enthusiast, has agreed to become the owner of the Portland Trail Blazers. He's buying the team and keeping them in Portland.
You are Locked On Trailblazers, your daily Portland Trailblazers podcast.
Tom Dundon, who is the owner of the Carolina Hurricanes, an investor in Topgolf, and an enthusiast in the pickleball world, has agreed to purchase the Trail Blazers. The news was first reported by Sportico that Dundon was buying the team, later confirmed a couple other places, including by ESPN, where Shams Charania says that the sale will be for a valuation over $4 billion. I think the baseline for NBA teams was basically the Hornets at $3.5 billion. So with the Blazers being for north of $4 billion sounds about right. It's the right ballpark. The Allen estate has agreed to sell the team. Now, the actual closure of this sale will probably take a long time. As reported here first on Locked On Blazers, when the team was announced for sale, the anticipation would be that it was going to take 9 to 12 months for the process to be completed. Clearly, this is faster than that, but the closure of the sale will be sometime in the future. I think you can look to the Boston Celtics, where in late February, early March, they agreed to sell the team, and now we're sitting here in August, and the sale has not been yet finalized. So that's, 4 full months later. So I would expect sometime into the season that this deal actually gets finalized. But it is the agreement to purchase the team is indeed in place. So who is this group buying the team? Let's get into that first. Tom Dundon is about to be 54-year-old, currently 53, but turns 54 in early September. A 54-year-old who owns the Carolina Hurricanes. He became the majority owner, bought 52% of the Carolina Hurricanes, and the rights to the RBC Center in Portland, RBC Arena in Raleigh for $425 million in 2018. He has been the now majority owner of the Canes for about 7 years. Shout out to my Hicks with Sticks there in beautiful the Piedmont region of North Carolina. He's also the majority owner of a couple pickleball entities, PPA Tour, Professional Pickleball Association, and the Major League Pickleball. And he is according to the Sports Business Journal, roughly 10% investor, 10% ownership stake in Topgolf. He's worked in the sports world. He has Dallas ties, went to SMU, and is currently based in Dallas, although he spends some time in Raleigh. And this is someone who's worked in the sports world. He's mostly been a real estate developer and worked in some other places. Like many billionaires, he got rich writing subprime loans. The story of him sort of making his first a bit of money was working in sort of a car loan space that kind of popped off, and then he's a very successful investor, turning some millions of dollars into some billions of dollars, and now he is going to be the owner of the Portland Trail Blazers. So that's Dundon. He'll be the what they call the governor now. It's just stupid language. He's the owner of the team. He'll be the acting owner of the team, the face of the team, and the majority shareholder as it lands. You've got to pay. It's roughly 20% of the purchase price, so we're talking like $1 billion to get in on the ground. You got to have to be the majority owner, and the ownership group will also include the Mark Czar, who is the co-president of Blue Owl Capital, and Shield Tile, who runs who is the CEO of Collective Global. These are venture capital type investment firm types, the people who have all of this money to make these purchases. We'll see what Czar and Tile and their level of involvement and part of sort of what they look like as a part of the ownership group. But it sounds like it's gonna be Dundon. So that's who this group is. But the most important bit of news here, now 5 minutes into this bonus episode, is that the team isn't staying. The team is staying. Whoa! The team is going to remain in Portland. That's the most important part of this. I mean, maybe to you, if you live somewhere else, you're rooting for them to leave. But the reporting at first from Sportico and now confirmed several other places, including by Bill Oram of the Oregonian, this is the plan is for the team to stay here. The question is, what does staying here look like? Because it is clear, at a minimum, there need to be significant renovations, or there will be significant renovations to the Moda Center. The Moda Center is the oldest arena in the NBA that has not undergone significant renovations. It's one of the oldest arenas in the league period. I believe it's seventh oldest, according to an interview I heard with Marshall Glickman on Oregon Public Broadcasting's Think Out Loud program. It is a functional arena for you and I, people who attend games, but for the ownership group, typically sort of the cycle is about every 30 years, these arenas get renovated or replaced, and typically when new ownership comes in, they want a new arena. They want a new, sort of a larger share of the pie in terms of luxury boxes and high-end amenities and things like that draw big dollars, per capita dollars at games. That is coming, one way or another. So one way it comes is a massive renovation of the arena, right? Is a several summer process, displacing the WNBA team, but a several summer process of massive renovations to the arena, or it is building a new arena entirely. And I think you can look to a couple places to kind of get a sense of what this might look like. One of the places that it might look like is in Salt Lake City, where they have a centrally located arena in sort of the downtown centrally located in Salt Lake City area. It's a little bit older. When they had a new young owner come in, they did not move the arena, although there was some conversations that they might. Instead, they made significant renovations. They got a hockey team. They did all this stuff, but that included a larger real estate play, a larger redevelopment of the area around it, of more of downtown Salt Lake City, or more of like, I don't think it's, to me, that's not downtown Salt Lake City. I've been there a lot of times, but like the sort of central business commercial area surrounding the arena, a larger real estate play. And then if you look in Raleigh, where Dundon bought the Hurricanes in 2018, there was some whispers that maybe hockey in the American South wasn't going to be the thing. See the Atlanta Thrashers. And there was some whispers that maybe the Hurricanes, once relocated from beautiful Hartford, Connecticut, would be relocated. There's some whispers they might move. But instead, the relocation rumors kind of died because the team was successful, basically immediately making the Eastern Conference Finals, and then Dundon in 2023 undertook a deal to extend the arena's lease 20 years up through 2044. There's a lease to remain at the arena. And then to redevelop the land around PNC Arena in Raleigh. It is not a big urban arena. It is out there, like just off the highway in the suburban sort of Nowheresville. But that area is certainly expanding. But it is not like a truly urban arena like in Salt Lake City or like we have here in Portland. But they're transforming the area around PNC, around this arena where the hockey team plays, into a huge mixed-use entertainment districts that's going to include restaurants and bars and hotels and high-end condos and places, everything, right? Like it's going to make this like a true campus, live, work, play type of campus. Does that sound like the move that you might execute here in Portland? Yeah, that sounds very similar. Renegotiating a lease for a long-term lease and then spending a bunch of money to redevelop the land around the arena. The problem is that Portland has some challenges, like some actual physical challenges with developing the land around the arena. One, the highway is right there. Two, Memorial Coliseum is there, and they're putting some public money for about $40 million into renovating that building. It's also on the historic register. As I understand it, there isn't like a ton of legal protections that would prevent someone from demolishing the Memorial Coliseum, but there's some loopholes. There would be some constraints. And when it was about to get torn down back in 2008, and there was basically got it on the historic register and preserved its lasting its lasting legacy, and also just like made it into a thing that is going to be harder to move in the future. And then there's just some like physical constraints where the Moda Center is located is right up against the water. Right up against the water is this big rubber plant owned by the Louis Dreyfus family. That's they don't want to sell it reportedly, and you'd have to buy that and then develop that. And there might be some sort of environmental stuff associated with the big rubber plant. And then so if there is a larger real estate play, there are some constraints. It's possible. Tear down the Econo Lodge that's right next door. You could, there's the Portland Public Schools building that has long been rumored to be sort of a part of the redevelopment world. There's an agreement with the Albina district to sort of revamp that area in general. But I think what is true is that when these renovations happen, they often happen as a part of a larger real estate play. You can see it in Salt Lake City. You can see it with the now soon-to-be owner of the Trailblazers, Tom Dundon, what he did in Raleigh. This is what you want. And in fact, speaking of Marshall Glickman, who is the son of Harry Glickman, the original owner of the Blazers and part of this group that was working hard to keep the Blazers in Portland, he was on Think Out Loud last week, and he said that basically it is almost impossible to get a return on investment for billionaires if you have an arena without a district, a sort of entertainment district around it. Without a larger real estate play, you cannot get a big enough return on investment to make it palatable. So we will see what this means. But I think there are big hurdles to overcome in terms of what happens with the Moda Center. Is it going to be a massive renovation, which I think probably makes the most sense? Or are they going to try to relocate? Are they going to move up a little bit east to the Lloyd district and build this massive entertainment district that also has access via public transportation, which is kind of a need and could provide some parking areas as well as a place to develop a massive entertainment district? That's all. I think you can see, if you look closely, how this works, is that a larger real estate play in which many business interests can be placated to some extent is really the move here. You see when teams are purchased and teams don't move and teams stay in smaller markets. It's how you can maximize that sort of value.
Ever wish managing your money felt easier? With Monarch Money, it can. Whether you're growing your savings or planning a big purchase, Monarch puts you in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money is more than a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So in addition to managing your money, you're also building wealth. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNFL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNFL for half off your first year.
The latest reports and speculation on contract extensions for both Kevin Durant and Tari Eason.
Mission Control, Houston.
Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Let's start with the KD stuff first, because we had a report from ESPN from Tim McMahon on the Hoop Collective podcast talking about the Rockets and the Kevin Durant contract situation. Let's go ahead and throw it out. We'll run that audio back and then we'll talk about it.
The Rockets aren't going to go all in by all appearances. And by what I've heard, they're not going all in on an extension for Kevin Durant. Now, doesn't mean it won't happen, but, there've been rumblings of, hey, KD doesn't, he's not going to push for the full max. I don't know that the Rockets are going to put anything on the table that's close to the max. I think the Rockets are, it's not ideal, but I don't think they would panic if they go into the season with Kevin Durant just on the contract that he's on, just on the expiring.
Okay. So to unpack that, first and foremost, I want to highlight here that, in the lead up to the Kevin Durant trade, the teams that were all involved in this KD sweepstakes, it was kind of a foregone conclusion that, okay, if KD gets dealt to one of his, quote unquote, preferred destinations, that he would land there and then subsequently ink that 2-year maximum extension, which is like 2 years, like approximately $121 million or something. And that seemed kind of like a foregone conclusion. Like, okay, you're not trading for KD on a 1-year deal. You're trading for KD and he's going to sign, at least like an extension, like a 1+1, one more guaranteed year, and then maybe a player option that final year. So you get at least 2 to 3 guaranteed years of Kevin Durant, because that's always the risk that you run when you trade for a player with 1 year left on their contract. It's kind of a, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Like, you've got to, have the confidence that that player wants to be in your city, that player wants to play for your organization, or you run the risk of that player just bouncing after 1 year, right? Similar to what happened with Kawhi Leonard and the Toronto Raptors, right? The Raptors ran that risk. They traded for Kawhi. They won a title, and then Kawhi bolted, right? Went to the Clippers. So I don't think that's what's happening in this situation with the Rockets and KD, but it feels a little funky, because at the end of the day, you would like to have that peace of mind. I'm sure Rockets fans would love to have that peace of mind of just, okay, cool, KD's committed, he's locked in, he wants to be here long term. He's, the Rockets have a window of 2 to 3 years where KD's under contract, and they've got him till he's 39 or 40 years old, whatever it may be. And yes, there was a little bit of reporting out there that suggested previously that KD might be willing to accept less than his maximum contract salary in order to maybe help facilitate, some roster construction, or, maybe making it a little bit easier on the Rockets down the line with some of the payroll implications that they're going to have, needing to pay the young guys like Jabari Smith Jr., who they already inked to his rookie scale extension. They still need to figure out Tari's rookie extension, which we'll be talking about a little bit later in the show. And then also the fact that they've got, what is likely to be a rookie scale max extension coming down the pipeline for Amin Thompson. So I don't think that this is necessarily anything bad on the surface. Like, I don't think there's like any level of like KD's a little worried, like KD wants to make sure that the Rockets are good before he commits long-term, or the Rockets want to make sure that, KD isn't, going to have a major injury, or they want to make sure that KD fits with everybody else before they commit to him long-term. I don't think it's that whatsoever. It just kind of feels like both sides more or less doing their due diligence, right? In particular, from the Rockets side of things, because we have this track record, right? There's precedent from Rafael Stone and the Rockets front office that they don't just throw out contracts willy-nilly. Any other team in the association might have just walked up to Alperen Sengun and been like, you know what? Rookie scale max deal. You were awesome in year 3. We see you becoming a blossoming all-star. Here's your rookie scale max. Cool. Instead, Rafael Stone did his due diligence. He looked at the market, and he held, Alperen Sengun, kind of held his feet to the fire a little bit, and he got him on, a relatively bargain contract for being one of the, arguably top 5 centers in the NBA at just 23 years old. So, well, 22 at the time of signing the contract. And so this is just another in a long line of Rafael Stone making sure that he gets maximum value in these contract negotiations, finding a way to, and again, if you can get KD to sign for, an extension for 2 years, $100 million instead of 2 years, $120 million, right? He maybe sacrifices $10 million a year, something like that. That suddenly puts the Rockets in a much more advantageous position as far as their cap maneuverability and any, potential luxury tax penalties further down the line. Elsewhere in this Hoops Collective podcast, Tim Bontemps kind of talked about, the Rockets' financial perspective of this, and he had this to say. The Rockets have done an outstanding job of understanding the new economic environment that the league is in. Teams have to be much better about negotiating every dollar on deals. As we've seen over the past couple of years, deeper teams are probably going to have more success with where the league is headed. You have to mind your P's and Q's when it comes to these contracts and not be giving out extra money on deals to where you wind up in the second apron sooner and you have all these difficult financial questions. The Rockets have done a remarkable job of showing fiscal discipline and restraint all the way through. And I think if they can continue to do that, they're going to have a real advantage over the competition, because we've seen other teams not do that. And I think it's going to bite them later. So to me, this discussion about why the KD extension hasn't happened yet, why the Rockets are maybe even comfortable with it, being pushed later into either into the season or even just revisiting the conversation entirely next offseason, is because they're okay with taking a more cautious approach to the finances. And at the end of the day, even if they kick the can down the road and they decide they want to renegotiate with KD next offseason, there are actually a ton of benefits that really play into the Rockets' favor, not necessarily KD's, but certainly help the Rockets a ton if they wait on a KD extension.
We've all been there, logging on early and waiting forever for concert tickets to go on sale, only to lose your spot for a show you've been dying to see. Live music should be about making memories, not dealing with the stress of ticket shopping. That's where Game Time comes in. Game Time makes getting concert tickets faster and easier than ever. Prices actually drop as it gets closer to showtime, and you can save up to 60% with their killer last-minute deals. Tired of endlessly scrolling, trying to find the best deal? Well, Game Time's zone deals pick the best seats in your section for you. And with Game Time, the price you see is the price you pay. No hidden fees. Take the guesswork out of buying concert tickets and show tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, the lowest price guaranteed.
Nick Nurse, while he is participating in Basketball Without Borders over in jolly old England, he commented on Joel Embiid and offered the latest health update on the 76ers big man and one-time MVP. I'll tell you why I don't think he read that ESPN article on Joel Embiid. We'll talk about all that and more in this edition of Locked On 76ers.
You are Locked On 76ers, your daily Philadelphia 76ers podcast.
Nick Nurse on Joel Embiid? When was this, from like months ago? No, Keith, this is from yesterday, or maybe because it was in jolly old England or jolly old London. It was 2 days ago. He actually commented on the Joel Embiid situation. Keith, did you see this story yet?
Yeah, I saw it. I skimmed through it. I mean, I saw it actually last night. I mean, I saw like the comment, and it was one of those things, if we're going to be honest, I was just like, okay. And just, I mean, because it's one of those things where, I mean, I guess we'll talk about it, and then after I mean, we'll go over the comment, and then I'll give you my opinion on why I feel the way I do.
Fair enough. Here it is right here.
Okay.
As luck would have it, I have it right here. This is via Heavy Sports, but this is also from Talk Sport overseas, okay? This is Nick Nurse to Talk Sport. All the news is positive. And by the way, let me just set this. It was a one-on-one with a reporter at Basketball Without Borders, and it was about a 5-minute interview. They talk about Basketball Without Borders, and there's like 2 questions about the Sixers. This is the one that people will care the most about. All the news is positive. This is Nick Nurse, quote, "All the news is positive. I know he's working very, very hard, and I think things look good. Whether he's ready for training camp or not, I think there is maybe a lot more decisions than that to make before we get there. But our main thing is that he's healthy to play and play to his best capabilities because he's awesome. No doubt about that." That's Nick Nurse again to Talk Sport. I don't think you read that ESPN article where Joel Embiid just flat out said, I'm not rushing back for anybody. Now, Nick Nurse did question whether or not he'd be ready for the start of training camp, and I think that goes without saying. But as for the start of the season, that's really all I care about when it comes to Joel Embiid. What was your immediate takeaway when you saw the comment last night by Nick Nurse?
My takeaway was that Nick Nurse wanted to remain positive, but he wasn't going to give out any information that he knows. But he also gave himself some wiggle room to get out of stuff. Like, for instance, we don't know if he's going to be at training camp or not, but we know that when he comes, like, they basically want him to be healthy because he knows that he's a dominant player, right? He also said that, the decision is they has to go through certain steps and certain stages before Joel Embiid is, able to play a lot more decisions. Now, what it really meant to say was, we don't know when Joel's coming back, or we may have a little bit idea of when he's going to come back, but it's up to Joel. And I felt like when you come out and you say something the way that you did, you're basically, yes, you are addressing it, but you're not, you're addressing it in a manner to where you don't upset Joel, and Joel's like, oh, he's talking this way and talking that way. Because you got to remember, there was a point in time when Nick Nurse said certain things earlier in the season, and then all of a sudden he just shut down. And he shut down because, he was giving up too much information. And next thing you know, the NBA ended up the Sixers got fined by the NBA, and then he just shut down completely. To me, it's kind of like the real answer would have been, we hope that Joel returns for training camp, but he hasn't told us yet, and we don't know. You know what I mean?
Okay. All right. That's so I was going to ask you that. So the we don't know part of it is kind of what I get out of all this, because let's see. So far on Joel Embiid from the Sixers, all we really have is, and I'm not including players like Tyrese Maxey or anybody that spoke during Summer League. I'm talking about the front office or coaching staff. So Nick Nurse or Daryl Morey. All we have to this point is Daryl Morey twice saying that everything's looking good in the offseason for Joel Embiid. At one point, I know he definitely said at the draft, we expect Joel Embiid to be ready to go for training camp and all that. And it was like, damn, okay, well, that's optimistic. And then the article comes out where Joel Embiid's talking about how he's not rushing through anything in the offseason. And he's going to, he's done that in the past. That's been a mistake. He's not going to do it this time. And then Nick Nurse talks about all the news is positive. That news with Joel Embiid is not positive. That he's not going to rush back, that he's not going to, that implies he's not going to be ready for training camp. He's probably not going to be ready for the start of the season. So I think he is trying to stay in line with what Daryl Morey is saying in terms of everything is status quo, but we're still not sure about camp. So here's my question. How much do you think Daryl Morey and Nick Nurse actually know about Joel Embiid's off-season regiment, if you can even call it that, to be as close to ready as soon as possible?
That's a great question, Mark, because I do think that they know enough, right? I do think it's weird. It's weird, though. I think that, let's just say if it was a doctor who the team, said, okay, we suggest that you go to this doctor, or Joel did it himself, then I think that they know enough up to a point, right? They don't know all the particulars because, it's not their doctor. However, I do think that they know that, okay, he went through this. This is the timeline. He may be able to do this and he may be able to do that. Kind of sort of like the last time, right? But you got to understand something. Typically you ask a player to come back at a certain point or at a certain time. I think the thing that they don't know is, how does Joel Embiid feel about when he's ready to come back? Because Joel's not coming back until he's ready to play. So even though you may say, like if someone tears their ACL, I'm not saying he tore his ACL, but typically that timeline is from 9, or if you take blood, you need 9 months to a year. Well, a lot of times that comes up to the duration of, is the guy like returning or like that's when he physically is able to return. But if the player's not ready to play, it could be a whole lot longer. For them, they don't know how long it's going to be because Joel is not going to come back until he knows. Now, if the doctor isn't their doctor, and Joel, if they're waiting for Joel to give them information, then they have no clue of what's going on, because he could have a setback. He could do this, that. Now, what they're saying is everything is positive. To me, he's just talking. Because if everything is positive, and this guy had surgery during the season, which you guys are saying they just went in there and scoped it out, and everybody thought everything was going to be cool and fine, then if everything is positive and headed the right direction, Joel should be on the court right about now. It should be a definite that he's going to play and going to play in training camp and be there with the team. So to me, it's just, you're just talking now, trying not to get the fans in a frenzy. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. And Joel, I think you're right to your point earlier. And Joel Embiid in a frenzy. Like, oh, yeah, we expect everything's fine. We expect him to be ready. Like, to double down on that specific thing from Daryl Morey, I think that might put Joel Embiid in a bad spot as well.
Yes and no, but I don't think so. I don't think so. Because I mean, and the reason why I'm saying that it could, like when they're saying it, because that ultimately, like, if you realize it, so this is what would have put Joel Embiid. Throw that thing back up real quick, please.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, like, we think whether he's ready for training camp or not. I think there's maybe a lot more decisions than that to make before we get there. When he came out and said that, he's always given a wiggle room out. Like, yes, all the news was positive, but then when he came back with the second sentence, to me, it was kind of like, okay, he's great, and Joel says he's great, but then they're going to say, but the doctor didn't clear him, right? They can always go with that. You know what I mean? But our main thing is that he's healthy and that he's going to play at a dominant level. Nick Nurse doesn't really know what's going on, or he may have an idea, but he's not totally going to share it through the media. And I'm going to be honest with you, this has to be frustrating for Nurse. It has to be.
Oh, absolutely. And you could tell that was the case last year. You could tell that was in training camp. I'm watching the press conference and all that stuff with Nick Nurse. He's getting asked about Joel Embiid and all that. And then finally, it was like Nick Nurse was just done talking about it. Next thing you know, you got Joel Embiid taking the stand. And he's being asked about not starting the season. Then he finally gets asked the question about playing in the Olympics, but not being ready for the season. And he plays the martyr card immediately about all I've done for this city and all that stuff. So, yeah, you could definitely see through the season, even in training camp, that Nick Nurse was getting frustrated with everything. The reason I say that it could be a negative for Nick Nurse and be interpreted in a negative way by Joel Embiid is if I'm Nick Nurse and I say, yeah, we fully expect him to be ready, he's going to be at training camp, and then he's not, then Joel Embiid looks like the guy that, again, didn't take his offseason regimen seriously. He's not in shape. He didn't do rehab, whatever. Then he comes off looking bad. Why are you not ready when the team expected you to be ready?
Exactly. And that's why, basically, like, if you, like, here's the thing. If we were, like, in the class where they asked you to dissect things, basically that second paragraph, people were like, okay, that's the out. Like, he's basically saying the guy is able to go, but like, all the news is positive, right? But whether he's ready for training camp or not, I think there's maybe a lot more decisions to this and that. Now, beforehand, let's think about this, Mark, and I'm not trying to bring up, stuff from the past, but I'm about to bring up stuff from the past.
Go for it.
Before, what they were saying was all the doctors were telling them the decision to be made that he didn't need surgery again and that he could play through it. And then what happened? He made the decision to have the surgery a little bit later. Oh, no. Then they came back and said, oh, after consultation, we decided to have surgery. But he didn't tell them. He told the ownership group, and who in turn told Daryl Morey and told Nick Nurse. So, yeah, they're in the dark. They're in the dark if things haven't changed.
And I know that there's been a lot of surgeries, so I don't want to confuse them. Is that the most recent surgery that happened or the surgery before the Olympics?
No, that was the most recent one. That was the one during the season. Yeah, that was the most recent one. Yeah. And like, this whole thing is crazy. Like, did you know, like, someone posted that the Sixers, and it was recent, someone posted that the Sixers are looking, Howard Blitzer is looking for a soft tissue therapist. So I saw this on Instagram yesterday, but it's kind of crazy. Like, it's kind of like, now I don't know when this post came out, but you're thinking about it's like, yo, the timing is kind of crazy. Like, you would have thought that this was something that someone you was looking for before. Now, maybe they had one and the guy left, right? But at the same time, you're looking at it and you're like, whoa, okay. So you got people going on getting like hyped up over it now. Like, oh my God, they're looking for a soft therapist, a soft tissue therapist. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Oh boy, oh boy. All right. The last thing I want to ask you on this to wrap up this first segment here, Keith. So we don't think that Nick Nurse knows much. We don't think that Daryl Morey knows much. What have you heard? Like, what are the beat guys saying, or what are the beat writers saying when it comes to Joel Embiid? What have you guys heard about how everything's going, or are they just doing a phenomenal job of keeping everybody in the dark?
I mean, what we heard is Joel Embiid's not coming back until Joel Embiid is ready to come back. He does not want to, like, I mean, honestly, he does not want to rush back. And when he comes back, he's gonna feel, when he's 100% confident and secure in his body, that's when he's going to come back. That's what I heard.
Yeah,
and he's been saying that for a while. Like, he felt like, even though he was out for a minute, he felt like he rushed back.